So, right? All of life is expressing a divinity. Right? The first movement in creation is the divine light of God. There is no personality to accept the pleas of your soul, which does me no favors, let me tell you. Right? Embedded within every cubic centimeter of space is a twofold manifold. The first of which is something like this. This is one example of it. It's an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra where both of these are inside of each other, right? That all is within all. So dense and perfect in their syncopation, right? In their union, that they dissolve into seeming non-existence. Diffused within that seemingly dead space, it's inert space. It's a conscious field, an abstract intellectual quality. Right? Essentially, if we're talking about my worldview, and I'm thinking about my worldview right now, right? I would say that on the highest levels of that the movement, right, which is pressure, which collapses, right, doesn't have to have an intellect, actually, right? It's just movement. It's just pushing, right? Moving through, right? And so, right? There's the structural facade, right? The skeleton, right? This is the sophisticated intellectual half of the formula, right? And then there's the pressure, right? The motion, the thing that squeezes it and makes it collapse, which engenders electric resistance as friction against itself, right? Until it can no longer remain in Earth space and erupt into incandescence as matter, right? So, I guess what I'm saying right now is that my understanding, like what I'm talking about here, right, really is discussing an emanation of the deity, right? Anyone who's familiar with the Kabbalah, right? That life is a progression of emanations from God. And so what I'm saying are Bina and Chakma, these are the first two. Motion and structure, right? That through the communion of breathing, of pressure upon this static, archetypal scaffold, right? It can engender complex life, right? And so at least certain writers say that the two, which is wisdom and understanding, lead to Dath, which is intellection, right? So, right? Man is the end of evolution, if there is such a thing, right? The reason is because, okay, before I go any further, you can always say that life is purely accidental. That's fine, right? I would say it's quite lazy intellectually. Right? But what I'm saying is that you can always say that, right? But if life has a plan, if life is the unfolding of a divine plan, right? This has always been my philosophy. It's it's not a static thing. It's an outpouring, right? And it's an emanation from some divinity there is a divinity that shapes our ends, rough hew them how we will, right? So, all instances of clairvoyance, psychic phenomenon, remote viewing, right, is the mind of the adept, right? The mind of the student tapping into the non-local conscious field, right, which is the celestial zephyr, right? Right? It's the conscious breath, right? And that's the same thing that keeps your heart beating, right? Keeps the brain, right, neurologically active, right? And through meditation, right, the medium, right? I wrote Quentin Tarantino a series of letters about playing the lead in the movie Critic. Quentin Tarantino is a powerful psychic clairvoyant, right? And when I didn't give him what he wanted at Tribeca, the NeuroCon, he and the people closest to him entered into a campaign to compel me to madness. Right? At the new year, I turned it all on them. This is all the subject of my novel, Building a Coven. And within days, he admitted that he has no daughter. I'd been buried in bullshit, a bunch of psychic bullshit, right? All to overwhelm my mind, all to make me eat a bullet. Right? And now, right, now we're talking about it in a meaningful way, right? Because he's stolen my wisdom and descended into palpable black magic evil. Right? This is not, can't stress this enough. Like, this is it's the most dangerous saga of our lives, right? He has to live, right? Unless he's a dumbass, right? Under the presumption that I despise him. Like the things that he's done, right? And since we're both excellent remote viewers, right? Can't stress that enough, right? Very powerful clairvoyant. So am I, right? That he has people that are gonna watch me all the time, right? At con, right? Why do you think he did that at con, right? Because I'm all the way in his fucking head. That's the point, right? Right? And since he can't get me to blow my brains out, I thought, oh, what else will he do? And he went, oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah, right? And has really crossed a line.